Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room for DisrupTV. We won't be talking about AI today, or maybe we will. We're just kidding. Well, welcome. And I'm Ray Wang, your co-host here with Vala Afshar, and of course, our awesome producer today, Hannah. And we've got some amazing guests. So quickly, let's go down the line and talk about where you're coming in from and what are we going to talk about today. So Damon, where are you coming in from and what are we talking about?
Hello, everyone. I'm Damon Lembi, and I'm calling in from Sausalito, California. And today we will be talking about being a learn-it-all instead of a know-it-all, and why that's so important, which I believe is because of such a rapid pace of change these days. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing more about that. Lee Rainie, where are we coming in from? What are we talking about today?
I'm going to talk about, I'm the director of the Pew Internet Project, and I'm going to talk about the survey that we do of people like you, Ray, when we ask experts to predict things about the future of the internet. And the last report that we issued was on the best and worst trends that'll unfold in the next decade or so.
Oh, yes, that was a super report. So very, very cool. So, all right, Yusuf, where are we coming in from? What are we talking about?
Ray, how are you? I am in Chicago today after being on both sides of the country already this week. So I finished here in the middle. I'm responsible for the Accenture operations business. And, you know, all of our clients are asking us a lot about AI, digitizing operations. We've done some research lately. And so I think we're going to hit some of those points.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Well, hey, with that, we're going to kick off the show, turn it back to you, Hannah, and I guess we'll drop in and see you guys on the other side.
All righty, we'll get started in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to follow us on Twitter at DisrupTV Show. Send your questions to Ray, myself, and our guests using hashtag DisrupTV, and we'll do our best to answer them live. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO and founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Ray's a regular television business and tech news contributor on Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, CNBC. In my opinion, he's one of the top features to follow on Twitter at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm here with Vala Afshar, the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of The Pursuit of Social Business Excellence. This is an amazing book, but he's got a new book. It's called Boundless, a new mindset for unlimited business success. And it's going to be available in September, and you can pre-order it today on Amazon. But executives around the world spend a lot of time paying attention to every one of his inspirational, insightful tweets. And when he's not keynoting, hosting, leading events, doing yoga with world officials at the UN, you can find him speaking on business TV outlets like Bloomberg, and of course, posting insightful analyses on ZDNet. So, but it's not about us, as we always say. It's about our amazing guests. And who do we have to kick it off today, Vala?
It's our pleasure to have Yusuf Tayob, Group Chief Executive of Accenture Operations. Yusuf's team of over 215,000 professionals deliver strategic managed services across enterprise functions, enabling clients to digitize faster, become data-led, and bring resilience to their business. Ray, this is a $10 billion business. It's amazing. Accenture Operations help organizations change how they work, how they engage with customers, and the talent they need for today and in the future. Throughout his career, Yusuf has worked with over 100 client organizations in more than 20 countries, with extensive experience in digital transformation, including business strategy, operating model change, business process transformation, and large-scale technology implementations. Welcome, Yusuf, to DisrupTV.
Vala, that's a unbelievable introduction.
And listen, we only have a 20-minute show, so I have to cut your bio to about a tenth of what you've accomplished. 215,000, 10 billion. I don't know how you sleep at night. That's just awesome. It's awesome amount of responsibility.
Starts with having a great team.
That's always the case. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, hey, look, Accenture Operations is huge. Most of our clients and a lot of everyone's clients here have worked or interacted with you in one way or another. And the state of operations are really changing, right? As Group Chief Executive Accenture Operations, right? I mean, that's a lot of people, and we're seeing a lot of shifts, right? We've got analytics, automation, AI. You guys talk about intelligent operations that are popping around. What is changing? What does this mean for you and for customers? In order to stay relevant and competitive, are there trends that you're facing? Are you seeing different shifts in terms of business models that people wouldn't not normally know about?
Yeah, look, Ray, it's an exciting time to be in business. It's an exciting time, to be on the operational side of business. And as Vala mentioned here in the intro, what we do in Accenture Operations is we deliver managed services where we help our clients. We deliver processes on behalf of our clients. We put tech, data, and AI in front of every business process with this constant focus on innovation and improvement to all enterprise processes. We also do this across the enterprise, in the marketing space, the sales space, the customer service space, around enterprise functions and in finance and supply chain and procurement, and then around core industry processes. And so the questions you're asking, the question you're asking about what's going on, it's incredibly relevant. When I talk to CEOs and their leadership teams, they tell me they're under tremendous pressure right now to digitize faster, to drive cost and growth at the same time, to put more resiliency in the business, and to create a model, a way of working that, gives them more agility, allows them to respond faster to everything that's going on in the world. And so much of that reinvention strategy, leads to tech. And so, like I said, it's a super exciting.
This is everything. When you talk operations, it's procurement, right? It's health, right? I mean, you're talking about supply chains, you're talking about compliance, right? It's everything in business operations. So
exactly right. And in fact, the business that we've got at Accenture, really works out to about a third. About a third of my people spend their time helping our clients deliver marketing, answer customer inquiries and work directly with customers. About a third are helping drive what we call maybe the middle and the back office, running finance or HR or supply chain on behalf of our clients. And some of the most exciting work we do is, in fact, in the core industry processes. We run claims and underwriting for insurance companies. We run pharmacovigilance and drug discovery for life sciences companies.
These 215,000 technology and business professionals are constantly feeding information from the outside in to help bolster Accenture research, an incredibly accurate, evidence-based process of not only understanding the present day, but also future of business. And for a decade, you've been producing annual reports, the Tech Vision Report, which is my most popular ZDNet article every year. Thanks to Accenture, I've probably got a couple 100,000 Twitter followers. And it's incredible because every year you reflect on previous year's predictions to fact check and make sure that you're fine-tuning your processes in terms of your research. And a lot of the research today and for the past several years points to the impact of AI. Current research says that 42% of companies want to make large investments in generative AI this year. 98% of global executives agree that AI foundational models will play an important role in their organization strategy for the next several years. So at the same time, all this enthusiasm and excitement about emerging tech like AI, but your research shows that investing in more digital technologies doesn't guarantee higher operation maturity. A little bit counterintuitive. Can you talk about, first of all, this incredible robust process that Accenture has with their research and how the findings sometimes can be counterintuitive?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I love the Tech Vision as well. Paul Doherty, our Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, puts that out every year. They do a fantastic job. And what we tend to do then is we build off that research. And so some of what you're referring to there, Vala, and some of the data points you just provided, some of the research we've done most recently, both on AI and then on sort of reinvention of operations. And you rightly point out that tech alone, AI and tech alone, and the investments in AI and tech alone does not, in fact, guarantee any significant or meaningful return on investment, and it certainly doesn't guarantee, what we would call operations reinvention or really operational maturity. What our research tells us, about 2 months ago, we kicked off another study. We interviewed 1,700, just over 1,700 executives, C-suite executives across 19 different industries and all markets. And we really looked at operations maturity on several dimensions. And what we found was that while artificial intelligence is critically important, it's only one of 6 attributes that really inform operational maturity. So AI is one of them, but how you leverage data and analytics more broadly around your automation agenda, how you connect leading practices, both around process and tech, how you bring your business organizations and your tech organizations together to collaborate, the investment you make in talent, and then how you tend to think about all stakeholder experiences. All 6 of those characteristics applied together is really what determines operational maturity, and therefore the return on investment on those on AI and tech.
I want to just follow up with, I'm aware that Accenture drinks its own champagne. 750,000, I believe, employees. But whether we have Accenture executives like yourself coming on our show talking about whether it's the metaverse or Web3 or blockchain or AI, there's always strong evidence of use cases where you're actually kicking the tires inside of Accenture at large scale. So you're not just informed by clearly your amazing clients and customers, including my company. I mean, you're the largest partner we have in the world, but you really have this culture of experimentation and innovation. How much do you encourage your 215,000 men and women to really make sure that Accenture is one of the leading edge companies when it comes to using these technologies to improve your company's performance and value add?
Paul, it's a great question. We have worked with Salesforce for a number of years. You have a tremendously innovative culture as well, and so I know these points, resonate with you. We invest $1 billion a year, over $1 billion a year, in just training and skilling of our people, and so we're hyper focused on constantly developing and growing the skills, particularly the technology skills of the 700,000+ people that work inside Accenture. And then we also, my boss, Julie, our CEO, constantly encourages us as a leadership team to be, in her words, our own best credential. As I mentioned, Accenture Operations runs a number of different functions on behalf of our clients. Well, Accenture, the company, is also my client. In fact, one of my largest clients. We run HR operations for Accenture in Accenture Operations. We run parts of our finance organization. We run marketing functions within Accenture Operations. And so we're constantly both investing in our people and the development of their skills, and then we're constantly pushing the boundaries on how much we can do to ourselves, and through those learnings, bring them to our clients.
That's amazing.
That's great. You guys are the experimental laboratory for yourselves and before you get it out to the clients. So,
Ray, do you know any company that spends $1 billion in employee training? I mean, that's unbelievable.
Not a lot of companies that do that. It's pretty wild. So, but related to that, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of interest in AI and, of course, generative AI today, and a lot of interest in automation. What potential do you see that in operations, right? Where are you seeing, basic automation playing a role? Where do you see opportunities where you're augmenting the machine with a human to get to levels of precision and higher levels of, reducing, false negatives and false positives, where you're augmenting the human with the machine so we're much more productive and effective? And of course, where do you actually apply human touch? So where are you seeing all this happening as we talk about ChatGPT and LM models and automation? That's got to be changing your world or turning it upside down a little bit.
Well, it makes our world very exciting. In fact, we see this as a really, really significant opportunity. And you guys know us quite well, so you'll know that we've been talking about and doing automation and AI for years and years and years. In fact, in my business in Accenture operations, we automate about 8 to 10% of the business every year. So if you have, 210, 215,000 people in the business, imagine that 18 to 20,000 of those roles every single year go away. And the people don't go away. The people, we have the people focus on higher value tasks, but the work, we've been able to continue to automate. So we're already in the business of automating 8 to 10%, of the work that we're doing. Generative AI has now created a really interesting and exciting inflection point. First of all, it's captured everyone's attention. So while we've been doing this for years and years, you've now got every executive thinking about it, asking about it, talking about it, wanting to get educated on it, wanting to make investments around it. So that's a good thing. The second thing generative AI does, I mean, when you think about the types of automation that we've been doing over the years in all of these enterprise processes, it's making predictions, it's executing decisions, it's driving compliance to process controls. Generative AI, though, it sort of takes us to a different place. In our current world, a human must still interpret data before the AI can take over, and a human must then pick up where the AI left off to finish a process. But with Gen AI, you can now, we see the potential to perform data extraction, to understand the data that shows up, whether it's in the form of text or images or audio or video, really maybe even to be able to assess sentiment. Now, it's still early on these things, but this is sort of the potential. And then Gen AI can take the decisions and create, communicate, or respond. So it really does become a co-pilot to the human.
Right. We've gone from, identifying the patterns to completing the patterns to predicting the patterns. And now we can actually go from data to decisions a lot more quickly. I mean,
Exactly
it's incredible. I mean,
It really is. It really is. And as Yusuf said, it was November of last year when the world kind of woke up to large language models and generative AI. But if you've been reading for 10 years, your research, specifically the last 4 or 5 years, you've had robust chapters.
And Vala has read every one of these reports.
I read about every one of them. And I mean, in January, you're publishing the importance of foundational models. And this was a publication that literally was only 60 days after the world woke up to Gen AI. So again, Accenture has been ahead of the curve for decades. And part of that, I know, because my company's largest clients partner with Accenture to implement large-scale enterprise projects, crossing all lines of business, geographies, and multiple industries. And these CXOs that I have the privilege of, collaborating with, they talk about growth. They talk about delivering value at the speed of need. They understand personalization, intelligence, speed, scale. These are the currencies in this hyper-connected, digital, and more decentralized economy. Yusuf, when you hear words like growth or when you hear words like value, what does that mean to you? I mean, because frankly, 250,000 people are looking for you to define purpose and mission for them. So how do these words resonate with you when you hear a client say, I want to grow my business or I want to deliver value to all my stakeholders?
Yeah, well, Val, I love the question because, when we talk about growth and when we talk about value, certainly there's the financial aspects to that, right? We're always committed to both the top line and the bottom line impacts, that we can help our clients drive. But we tend to approach this in with this notion that we call 360-degree value. That is, you're delivering certainly on the financial benefits, but the other things clients tell us that they want is they want a path on the talent agenda. Show me how to create new opportunities and new paths for my people. They want a commitment on their DEI agenda. Show me how to bring the diversity and the ESG commitments that I've made into how you execute operations. They want a commitment on all of their stakeholders and the experience that we drive for all of their stakeholders. And so we've found that when we pursue 360-degree value, the financial commitments and then everything else, not only does that provide the right inspiration and opportunity for our people, but it really delivers on a much more holistic set of outcomes for our clients.
That's awesome.
That is incredible. And especially given what we're seeing in the marketplace today, we don't have enough skilled work. We have not skilled people. Everybody needs training. A lot of the institutional knowledge you guys have built over time and cross-industry expertise is becoming even more important. So this is amazing. And thank you for being here. We're here with Yusuf Tayob, Group Chief Executive Officer of Accenture Operations. And thank you so much for being on the show. Happy Friday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Vala.
Terrific. 10% automation on an annual basis, $1 billion investment.
220,000 people plus. Think about that.
Yeah.
How do you put processes in at scale like that?
It's amazing, and consistently named one of the best places to work. High Glassdoor rating. One of the most celebrated CEOs in the world. And of course my favorite guest, your favorite guest. We have Paul Doherty on the show.
Doherty.
Yeah. I mean,
or just catching up with John Walsh, who I think Yusuf knows very well from CMT. So it's all fun.
The leadership is so in tune to what clients need. Speaking of someone who's in tune to the future, our next guest is Rainie, Director of Internet and Technology Research at Pew Research Center, a nonprofit, nonpartisan fact tank that studies the social impact of the internet. Lee's project was described by American Sociological Association as the most authoritative source of reliable data on the use and impact of the internet and mobile connectivity. And ASA awarded Lee and the Internet Project its award for excellence in reporting on social issues. The project has issued more than 800 reports based on a survey that examines people's online activities and internet's role in their lives. Lee is co-author of Networked, the new social operating system, with sociologist Barry Wellman, about the social impact of the internet, mobile phones, and social media. Lee's also a co-author of 5 books about the future of the internet that are based on project surveys about the subject. You can follow Lee on, he must have been an early Twitter adopter, Rainie, L-R-A-I-N-I-E. Welcome back, Lee, to DisrupTV.
Hey, Val, it's great to be with you and see you. And I just listening to you talk to Yusuf, I had a lot of flashbacks because so many of the questions that we're now asking as we try to measure the social impact of the internet, just substitute and replace the words AI and generative AI for the word internet in the 1999, 2000 word period. We're all asking about this incredible run of innovation that's going to disrupt, everything that we know about. And I had the feeling that we were doing that when we were just studying, ones and zeros back in the day.
Well,
hey,
you've been on the forefront of every revolutionary, enhancements in terms of technology, cloud, mobile, social, internet, and now certainly AI.
Hey, look, if the methodology is good, the find and replace should be fine. You don't have to worry about it. I had a really good mentor that basically told me, find the research that someone wrote 10 years ago and rename everything and you'll be okay.
Honest to goodness, as we write AI, and especially generative AI questionnaires, I'm going back and looking at the work we did in 2006 and 2007 on search engines.
Yeah, it's going to be the same. But hey, you folks at Pew Research and Elon Universities, they've been imagining the Internet Center. I've been actually thinking about this for years, right? I mean, you guys have been the forefront of helping people understand where the trends are going to be, how to actually react to the trends, right? How to prepare and be out there. And so, you recently asked experts again for predictions about the best and the worst tech trends that will unfold in the next decade. So 1, why did you do that? And 2, we're going to want to know more about that. So
sure, I sit in 2 worlds. It's a wonderful expert world where we do canvassings of experts and try to ask questions about what's around the corner and what's going to happen. And you, Ray, are particularly insightful about all of these things. So there's a futurism hat that I wear. But we also do, Pew's really well known for general population surveys. So you have to orient a lot of your questions in a way that the average citizen can interpret and that they understand. And so as we recently did just a questionnaire about who has used ChatGPT, 42% of American adults had never heard of ChatGPT.
Oh, wow.
So there's a sort of bracing reality dose for everybody in the industries that you're in. Just not everybody's on the same page that you are. So as I wear my futurism hat, I go to experts like you to figure out what's happening in the future. And we had this wonderful partner in Elon University in North Carolina to do these canvassings of experts. And over the years, they've predicted the rise of mobile dominance of online platforms. They've predicted the rise of social media and some of the things that could go dark in social media. They predicted disruptions and attacks and cyber warfare and things like that. So this particular survey is sort of a capstone. I'm leaving the Pew Research Center. I'm retiring, but I'm going to probably stick at work like this. And we wanted to have a big summative kind of piece about where we've come and where we're going to go. So that's why we asked about best and worst. And a lot of people wrote a lot of words to try to get at some of that.
So let's start with the bad news, if we can. Maybe
the breaking news here, yeah.
The retirement was breaking news, but you're too young to retire, so I'm anxious to see what you're going to do next. We all are. But in terms of let's say the worst trends, more than a third, 37% of these futurist experts were concerned and more concerned than excited about the changes. The most harmful and menacing changes in digital life, they predicted will most likely be 12 years from now, like 2035. So I'm interested in that inflection point of where we may experience harm. But can you talk a little bit about some of the worst predictions with these experts?
Sure. As we went ahead, you talked about some of the statistical findings, although this really isn't a very scientific sample. It's just wonderful experts who will answer our questions, and they're not representative of anybody other than super smart people who look at the future. But anyway, 305 folks responded to this particular canvassing, and we asked them to address 5 dimensions of the world and social life in particular. One was human development, digital tools and systems. Another was human rights. Another was human knowledge. Another was human health and well-being. And the final one was human connections and governance. Our institution's going to basically catch up on this stuff. And when we asked them about the sort of harmful stuff, they talked about a bunch of things, starting with a bunch of their concerns related to how a sort of profit motive and profit centers and profit incentives are driving so much of the most advanced change, particularly in AI and generative AI in particular. They worry about data surveillance and the collection of data and the predictions about people and whether they'll be accurate or not, or whether they'll actually lead to more human autonomy or less human agency in the world. So they are really worried about this, and they were particularly worried, as a lot of scholars are and advocates, about the long-term impact on inequality and what it's going to do to democratic systems. On the human rights side, they're also worried about sort of surveillance of citizens, particularly in authoritarian countries. It's just so easy now to keep track of people, to infer what they're going to do, to sort of predict what they're going to do, to sometimes jail them for what they might be doing or thinking about doing. So there's some big concerns there. And then finally, I'll just talk a little bit about health and well-being, because there are ways in which, of course, the AI developments are going to lead to lots of better health outcomes and better health systems. But the experts who are worried about this think a lot about mental health and anxiety and depression and the kinds of things that we've already seen come out of social media that are leading to a lot of people saying that they are suffering in this life.
This is incredible. Of course, the 300 big brains that you spoke with, one of them is with us today, and Mr. Wang. And I encourage our audience to read this incredibly robust report because it's named experts and their opinions. I'll give you an excerpt from Mr. Wang. Policies are being created around the world to take away freedoms humanity has enjoyed and move us more towards the police state of China. Existing lawmakers have not created the tech policies to provide us with freedom in a digital era. So I won't have you, Ray, comment on it, but I just wanted to give our audience an example of the incredible insights that Lee and his team have collated into this incredible report. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, I'm going to sing more Ray's praises, though, because the first time
we love that.
He and I were in each other's company was the Collision-hosted conference about the People's Internet at the end of 2018. And we had issued a report just then with Ray's words in it and Vint Cerf's words in it. He was another sponsor of that conference. That the report was based on the impact on human agency and human autonomy of AI. So 5 years ago, this was a frontline agenda item for us. And an incredibly big number of the predictions that were made there are now playing out. like worrisome things like Ray is pointing out, how people might be nudged or shoved in certain directions without the opportunity to go in other directions, that certain kinds of thoughts wouldn't be permitted in these systems. And I believe it was Ray and others who at that conference were beginning to talk about the sort of shrinkage of human agency in the wider world. And so that's what's going on in this report as well, with of course brand new tools that were, at the time we were fielding this survey, ChatGPT was about 4 weeks old, and already people were in huge commotion over it.
Wow.
Well,
and I believe
night,
that's the event where we celebrated the 50% access to the internet.
The people-centered internet event. Yeah. No, we last night I was at an event run by Reinvent Futures, Peter Layden, Joe Baggio, as the big AI event where everyone was there, and I was asked to think about where the future was going to be. And what I was really worried about was the largest companies and the smallest companies are there's going to be a disparity. Small companies can't compete with large companies for AI and data because of the networks and the power. Individuals can't compete with governments who are going to oppress folks. But the thing that I really thought about, and when I walked out of there, was that it's going to be very important for large language models, because knowledge in society is going to continue to be shrunk, right? They're not going to leave anything in the public models, and everything's going to be private and hid behind firewalls. And what's going to happen in the future is we're probably going to have to take LLMs and treat them like patents and trademarks, right? There's an expiration date, and then everything gets turned back into the public good, because if you don't do that, there will be no more human knowledge, right? If you want to extrapolate that far out. But that is the worst of what could happen in technology. Let's talk about what the best is that could happen in these future trends, because I'm trying to get ourselves out of this dystopian area.
Well, Dre, I'll just add one more thing. I don't know whether it'll be dystopian or not, but there are serious predictions in this report that we mentioned about AI advancing to the point where it has its own sentience, where it has its own consciousness, it can suffer. And so there are some people who are now thinking way downstream about the kind of rights beings like that, or consciousness like that, are going to want to have, because there's a way to make them suffer if they actually gain some level of consciousness. But anyway, on to the happier stuff. Look, a lot of the predictions, including Ray's, we talked about some of the amazing health and well-being breakthroughs that are going to come out of these systems. That protein folding, vaccines, fitness and well-being regimes, personalized medicine, changes that are beneficial in energy consumption, transportation, and things like that. So when you bring smartness to all manner of objects of things and organizations, you're just going to get a lot of benefits to society. And of course, on the human rights side, even as they're worried about surveillance and other kinds of technologies, there are easy ways to describe how these technologies give people more power. They give people more power to access information. They give more power to learn things. I love the idea of learning in the future that the next guest is going to be talking about. There are whole lots of ways that we can entertain ourselves and find meaning in life through applications of these technologies. And then there are ways in which, we're an inventive species, and we are going to create norms and institutions and other coping mechanisms. It takes a while. There are just periods of disruption, but a lot of these experts are hopeful that the course of human history shows enough times that we've managed change in a way that the species comes out better in the long run.
Lee, the Accenture report that we referenced with Yusuf, in the report, they had said 40% of all working hours can be impacted by LLMs and generative AI. Lots of research from lots of institutions. McKinsey talked about 40% of all work. We've done internal surveys at my company, and it seems like 5 hours a week savings in marketing alone, which translates to a 1 month of gain productivity a year, using current state capabilities of generative AI. What are your thoughts, and what are these futurists and experts in terms of the level of productivity gains in play when we're talking about cost of creating content converging to near zero in near term, and the accuracy also improving really fast because it's a combination of public and private foundational models that are being tweaked to get to this new content? Any thoughts? Any surprises Any blind spots that you may have had before the research that really made you rethink or reevaluate the profound impact of what may be the next 10 years with AI? Not just LLMs, but natural language processing, smart robotics, computer visioning, just all the categories that encompass this thing we call AI.
Yeah, we had a wonderful moment between when we gathered the data here and when we released the report where GPT-4 came out, and all the improvements over GPT-3 were well documented and things like that. One of the surprises we found at Pew Research, we have a wonderful brand that you were kind enough to reference in introducing me, of accuracy and representativeness. And we just obsess about the data quality of what we do. And one of the earliest things that happened to us after ChatGPT came out was we started getting queries from reporters, because we have an incredibly well-respected brand with reporters. We started getting queries sort of saying, this ChatGPT answer to me said that there was a Pew report on this subject, and I can't find it on your site. And the models, this was, hallucination number one, nightmare number one for Pew, because there are ways in which the models were generating authoritative seeming stuff coming out of Pew. And if you're predicting the next word in a sequence, soon enough, when you're studying the social impact of the internet, you get to Pew. And when you get to Pew, you get to Pew Internet. And when you get to Pew Internet, you get to surveys and stuff. And so we've been fending off some of the most interesting things that have been challenging our brand and are now sort of, our vigilance. We used to be really vigilant about the news clips that we got. Now we're having to be vigilant, and we're having sort of prompt query sessions on how can our stuff be misinterpreted on this. And God knows, set off the matrix and Skynet's going to start because Pew said something was going on in society. But the experts are really, very supportive and confident about the idea that productivity is going to grow. And the GPT-3 to 4 advances are soon enough. And there are tons of ways that even places like ours that are so old school and so hierarchical and so vigilant about the data, you can just see lots of applications that are going to speed up the process of getting stuff to market. We can turn around reports more quickly. We can summarize some key points. Matter of fact, when we put together this report, we fed in all the expert answers and asked ChatGPT, what are the big themes you see here? And it was amazingly consonant with the things that we were seeing just in our hand coding, hand observation of the data. So, yep, it's on our future.
That's amazing. And you heard Yusuf say, even companies as large as Accenture, you would assume hierarchy, complexity, organizational structures that are tall and deep, 8 to 10% automated processes every year. Yeah. So, it's amazing how much hyper automation is on top of mind for.
And that's, one of the meta themes of all of these expert reports that we're putting out. We're in a period of transition where essentially we're going to sort out the biggest question humans have ever faced. What are we good for? And what can machines do better than us? And what can machines help us do? Sort of a really big sort.
I am waiting for Ray to replace me as a co-host of Disrupt. I think
do we realize
Ray Wang and Disrupt GPT, and I'm out.
No. Or will we discover that the machines are the ones that really made us?
Ask
That's going to be
that'll
be a different one. But hey, there is something that is shifting, right? You guys have noticed this, that maybe the respondents have been watching too many dystopian sci-fi movies, or people are feeling less optimistic about the world, or maybe other factors. But something's happening, right? You're watching these reports and answers are more pessimistic. Is that your sentiment as well? Are respondents feeling worse about the future, or have we just lost inherent optimism, or is humanity just going down that rat hole?
Ray, that's really discerning. You're a careful reader, so thank you for that. But it has picked up, and I would say there are a couple of benchmarks along the way that saw these changes. The first, when some of the darker stuff out of social media started coming out, 2012, 2013, and just sort of the way that people were obviously gaming the system and abusing the system, which wasn't part of the original pitch that social media firms were giving to us. Snowden revelations were a huge turning point where, one of the arguments pre-Snowden in 2014, I think it was, or 2013, was that all this little stuff that I do in social media, just liking something or signaling where I am or adding people to my friendship networks, those are such inconsequential small scale things that, they have no meaning. And all of a sudden, when you can amass that in profiles and social structures and networks and things like that, even the least consequential stuff can then turn around and affect the 2016 presidential election. So that was a big breakout. And all the stuff since then, I think, Ray, has fit into this pattern where even the same experts who were pretty darn optimistic in the earliest stuff that we were fielding in the aughts are now, their basic presumption now as they think about AI is it's a balanced picture. Lots of people were saying I'm equally excited and concerned about this, but concern is very much on their minds. And it's interesting to watch how the arguments about discrimination and bias built into the models, those arguments weren't going on in the early days of the internet. It took a while for them to become part of the conversation. Now they're right in the thick of things at the moment that things are happening.
My final question to you, because you did have breaking news at the beginning of our interview, we don't know anyone that has a more unquenchable thirst than you do in terms of understanding the impact of technology on society, present day and future. What are you going to be doing, Lee? What? Tell us what you're going to do the next 12 months.
I'm going to do more of this future of the internet work. I just can't quit it. It's too fun. It's so
awesome.
Wonderful to be in contact with people like you, and it gives me way too many warm fuzzies to back out of this. One of the things that maybe you guys can advise me on down the line, I want to anchor this work in some big thing like trust or like human agency and autonomy. There are little smaller scale things that are important to humanity and stuff like that. But I want this body of work to talk about this gigantic transition that's occurring in society and what it meant for our civilization, really.
That's great.
Lee, I will give you a call in a few weeks, let you retire a little bit. We'll chat and maybe we'll come up with something fun. So.
Thanks, we look forward to having you back on the show. Thank you.
Thanks
so much.
Thanks, Vala. Really appreciate it.
This is amazing. We're with Lee Rainie, former director of internet research at Pew Research Center. And of course, he's going to be doing something else. We'll find out what's next. Who do we have next?
Okay, we can talk about all this amazing technology, but at the end of the day, if you don't have well-trained employees and customers, you're not going to achieve your full potential. We have Damon Lembi, CEO of Learnit, a global leader in corporate training solutions that have upskilled nearly 2 million professionals in the past 27 years. After dedicating the initial 22 years of his life to pursuing becoming a Major League Baseball player, Damon pivoted in 1995 to help his father, Walt Lembi, founder of Learnit, by investing his heart and soul in Learnit to help individuals gain the knowledge and confidence they needed in attaining their professional goals through the value of education. Damon is the author of a new book titled The Learn It All Leader, Mindset, Traits, and Tools. Now, in his book, Damon reminds us that great leaders aren't born, they're not made, they're in the making. Great leaders are constantly creating and recreating themselves, their companies, and their leadership. Damon attributes to Learnit longevity and success to the ability to surround himself with A players that take advantage of learning and evolve through past mistakes. Your best teacher is your last mistake. Please follow Damon on Twitter. You must have been an early adopter of Twitter as well because he's got his first and last name. Damon Lembi, D-A-M-O-N-L-E-M-B-I. Welcome, Damon, to DisrupTV.
Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. It's been great sitting here listening to Yusuf. And well, what about that? Talk about training, $1 billion a year.
$1 billion.
I should go into Salesforce and look at my rep and see why aren't we doing anything with those?
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing story. And it was, amazing thing for them to do with their employees. And it was great listening to Lee. It's very fascinating about the positives and, and the negative perceptions and how that kind of ties into what's going out in the world.
Hey, you come with great recommendations. A former president of Nestle, someone who managed Aerosmith, right? Baseball Hall of Fame inductee. Tech companies like Autodesk. People that teach like at Pepperdine. I mean, this is pretty crazy, right? I mean, people are all trying to figure out how does he set up for success? And I don't know if it's about getting invited to more happy hours, but it's something happening here. Talk about your 3-step approach to overcoming imposter syndrome. I hear this all the time on the show, and I know what people are talking about. So
yeah. I'm president of that club. I'm president of that club. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And it was funny. I was speaking to a group of college students yesterday about it, and all of us at some point in our lives go through imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter who you are. We all experience it. And it started for me really back when I left. And I talk a little bit about it in my book. When I left high school, I was a high school American, but by the time I got to Pepperdine, everybody was as good as I was, right? And so I first was like, I don't know if I belong here or not. Am I good enough to be here? I struggled, and I ended up moving to Arizona State. And really, this is where I learned how to get over imposter syndrome, because a lot of people are like, Arizona State's the best baseball team in the country. How do you know if you're even going to, get a chance to play? But I said, I'm going to give it 100%. And really what I did, and this is really the model I followed ever since, was I look at imposter syndrome. And first, you need to identify what you're afraid of. What is it that you're worried about? Is it coming on a show like this and, screwing up? Is it failing in a presentation or striking out in a baseball game? So for me, it's like identifying what the challenge is. And then step number one, work hard. And I'm not talking about 14 hours a day, but you need to put in the reps and you need to work hard. Number two is really focus in on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. It's really, you guys know, it's really easy to get, distracted because it's tough. So it's really easy to get distracted. So you really focus in, and that's step number two. And number three is really learn. You're going to make mistakes while you're doing it. Learn, but also kind of, you need to let go a little bit too. And just don't take yourself too seriously. Things may not go the way you want them to go. And
always.
But at the end of the day, what I've also learned too is, if you mess up, people might laugh at you or whatever, but people don't really care. They care about themselves is what their focus is. So really work hard, focus in on what you're doing. And then as far as learn from what you're doing and also let go, just give it your best shot. And if you've given it your best shot, what else can you do? That's it.
I love that.
And so I
that.
started there. And then whenever through my business career and everybody else, I've tried to help with that, because imposter syndrome is we all go through it.
I love that. Well, like the poster behind you reminds us, Rocky dealt with imposter syndrome. 1979 movie, best film. But getting in the ring with Apollo, he definitely didn't think he belonged there. But again, like the posters you have, through grit and discipline and execution and a great trainer, he mustered enough courage to get in the ring, and we know what happened. Well, not in Rocky 1, he lost, but Rocky 2.
Rocky 2.
I don't want to spoil the ending for folks who haven't seen Rocky.
There's more Rockies. There's more Rockies.
But in Rocky 2, is there even a better scene than when Rocky wakes up from laying in, not Rocky, but his wife is coming out of her coma, and Rocky's like, hey, I don't have to fight anymore. I can give it up. And she leans into him and says, just win.
Yeah, win.
That gets me every time.
I got goosebumps.
I was just going to say, I get goosebumps. It gets me every time. She's just like, just win.
But in your book, you talk about potential over experience in the hiring process.
Yeah.
Certainly with Rocky, you saw that someone who didn't have a winning experience, a lot of experience fighting championship caliber boxers, but he had potential, and the trainer saw that in him. Can you talk about, as a CEO of a company, why you speak to hiring based on potential, not just experience?
Mm-hmm. And this may not work in every position, but I would like to take somebody who has the aptitude and the potential and the ability and wants to work hard and isn't afraid to take chances than somebody who's got a ton of experience, but maybe they kind of feel like they've already been there, done that. And I've had tremendous success, and I'm really proud of the individuals, some of the what you mentioned through Autodesk and CEOs of companies who started off at Learnit with really no experience, but they came in, they listened, they were curious, and they were open-minded and would try things, and they would try it and they'd do it. They'd make mistakes and they'd learn and they'd move forward. There's a great story. I talk about it in my book a little bit. You've probably heard about it. Is Herb Keller? I think that's from Southwest.
Southwest, yeah.
Yeah, and remember, the story is about how when they, in order for them to keep their prices down, they'd have to do quick turnarounds. And so the board was like, hey, well, we need to hire people from Continental, all these airlines, because we need the people with the experience who could do that. And Herb's like, no, we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to hire sharp individuals who are willing to get it done, and who sometimes don't even know any different. And that's what they did. And they said, you have to get the turnaround time in 14 minutes. And you know what they did? They got down to 12. And if you would have hired the people from Delta or whatever, they would have said, that's impossible, can't be done.
Yeah. Getting pit crews would probably been better.
Yeah.
Indy 5 pit crews, you probably have.
Oh my God, 5 seconds, that car is out. This is where the equation ICANN greater than IQ. You want people that have a mindset, beginner's mindset, who are willing to tackle the impossible. I love that.
Hey, the thing I really liked in the book was really the trust tax. And it is actually a real thing. And I personally went through that myself. What is that trust tax, and why is it worth paying for that trust tax?
Well, can I ask you, can you give us a quick, what happened with was it somebody that you were employed and they let you down or something like that?
I think it was a series of individuals that basically I thought should have performed at a certain period of time, but didn't. But I needed to give them more rope. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, I'd say for me, the trust tax is something I thought about and came up with. I inherently believe it's best to start off by trusting individuals, trusting them and thinking that people have the right intentions, and going in at that with that mindset.
I like
and
that.
You know what? And if you do, you're going to get burned sometimes. And it's not going to work out every time. And that's why I call it, that's a tax you pay on it. But I prefer to take that approach than to come in and be suspicious or, from the other direction, always thinking you're going to be taken advantage of. My father ran a huge one of the largest real estate businesses in San Francisco, and he gave everybody a chance. And he had there's so many times he got taken advantage of by people, but he just kind of played it off, and he learned so you wouldn't make the same mistake. But he always gave people opportunity, and I think that is something that carried over from my approach. I've been burned several times. We all have, but you learn from it and you move forward. But that's the tax you pay, and that's why I think it's worth paying that tax, because in the long run you'll meet more good people who do the right thing.
Damon, is that an important philosophy in order to stay teachable? Don't you need to be comfortable showing vulnerability, like saying I don't know when you don't know something, versus trying to pretend or guess or try to mimic someone you admire, versus just simply saying I don't know, which shows vulnerability, even if you're a CEO or a leader like yourself, and then trusting your team that they will appreciate the fact that the best way to earn trust is to give it. So that tax you speak to is a methodology that allows you to maintain that open mindset and continue to learn, versus pretending you know something and then maybe making a mistake along the way because you truly don't have the deep domain expertise you need to make a more informed decision.
Yes. I look at, I call it, learn it all. I think there's 4 key traits to being a learn it all. Number 1 to me is humility, being humble.
Humility.
And I think as a great leader, and I've seen this not just learn it, but through our customers we work with or the people I mentor or coach, is you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to surround yourself with great talent. You need to not be afraid to, it doesn't mean I mean, be confident, but be open to asking questions and saying, I don't know. And I really think there's a lot of talk these days about vulnerability and leadership. And I think it's super important. I also think it's a fine line. You don't want to be overboard and apologize that you're making mistake after mistake. I mean, own your mistakes and ask for help and come up with a path to make things better. But there's the old sentiment of, well, you should never, leaders think that, I can't admit weakness in any sense. And I think a lot of people see right through that it's not authentic. And I don't know. I just think I think great leaders understand that it's okay to be vulnerable and share the mistakes that they make and the help that they need.
That personal model of integrity is important, right? It's part of the trust. As someone once described, I believe your father, big guy with a big heart.
Yeah.
That's kind of the model, right? I mean, if you have that, you earn people's trust and you take it to the next level. So how much is integrity required, right? I mean, what level of integrity, are people expecting for that in that workplace, or that's just assumed?
Well, I don't think it's assumed. But and that's another one of the key traits is integrity. And when I played, I was really fortunate. I got to play for 3 Hall of Fame baseball coaches, which helped really mold some of my leadership skills. And the first one who I reconnected with after 30 years was Andy Lopez. And Andy Lopez, he went from Pepperdine, excuse me, and then he coached at University of Arizona. He had 2 rules: show up on time and do the right thing. And sometimes people would say, well, what does do the right thing mean? I mean, he said, it's very simple. Do the right thing, have integrity. You know the difference between right and wrong. Don't cut corners. Don't do anything that will get your teammates or your coworkers in trouble. And I think, Ray, I think integrity is crucial for anybody, but especially leaders, because if you're a leader and your team or your employees don't think you have integrity, they're not going to trust you, and they're really not going to buy into what you're doing. And also, if you don't have integrity, I mean, there's a lot of backtracking that you're going to have to keep track of to keep your lies going. So why not just do the right thing and be authentic?
Sounds painful.
It is.
It's a lot of
Yeah, when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned and you're authentic, it's just easier. You don't have to rely on memory to address your mulligans. Okay, my final question, Damon. Where does The Natural rank in terms of your baseball movies? Is it near the top? Is it one? There's a number of baseball movies.
Natural versus Field of Dreams. Let's go. Cage match.
Field of Dreams, Ray. Yes. Or the Rookie, the new one that speaks to a high school teacher who ends up playing pro baseball as a promise to his team.
Was that Kevin Costner?
No, it was not Kevin Costner. His name escapes me, but he's a baseball coach in high school. True story.
Oh,
and he ends up playing for the Devil Rays for 2 years. And that's a great movie.
The Natural, I would say, for some reason, I didn't love The Natural. I was more of a Field of Dreams fan.
Yeah.
What about Bull Durham? Where does Bull Durham fit on that?
That's number 1. I love Bull Durham.
There you go.
I mean, I'm a big movie guy. I'm a Kevin Costner fan in general. But out of all the ones, I mean, that we've talked about, I would say Bull Durham was my favorite.
Bull Durham is a classic.
Yeah. And Major League.
I've seen 20 times. Major League.
Major League was good too.
Damon, we need on Twitter. We need you to rank the top 10 baseball movies.
Maybe I'll do that.
Okay. As someone who hit a home run in a College World Series, you have a lot of street cred in terms of ranking baseball movies. So.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Hey, get the book, Learnit, All Leader Mindset, Traits, and Tools. It's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. This book came out in April, one of the top books to look at, and really, really appreciate you for being on the show today. So happy Friday.
Thanks for hitting a grand slam. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll be in the green room if he's still there, and we'll catch up with him there. But yeah.
Okay, so... Oh my God, my brain is spinning.
Stump the chump time, right?
Yeah, well, I want you to recap what you learned from Yusuf, who's leading $215,000, $10 billion business, to Lee, who is collaborating with the 305 biggest minds in terms of understanding the impact of technology on our future and society, and of course Damon, who's reminding us all the skills and attributes we need in terms of trust, integrity, fighting imposter syndrome to stay teachable. Your thoughts, Ray?
Actually, I think this episode really talked about technology and humanity and really the struggles and conflicts that we're going to face over the next 10 years. Yusuf's operations are huge, right? They're people intensive, and over time, they're going to be very machine and automated intensive. And he's got to figure out where you actually insert humanity into the process and what will people pay for humanity. And I think that's going to be a very, very big piece. And I think what we've learned is, right, there's a lot happening in this space and a lot of innovation. I think what we learned from Lee is really the fact that, futurists like myself are a little bit more dystopian than ever. And these trends that are popping up, society has not really caught up, like policy has not caught up with the technology limitations. And once again, this is a human technology or human machine conflict that's happening. And I really think that requires us to really rethink policies. A few months back, and this sounds really silly, but I was really bored on the plane, and I started reading the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers again. And in it, I was like, holy crap, if we were to redesign a country from scratch, and we haven't looked at this for 250 years, like what rights would we have? What digital rights would we have? What would we do to create equal playing fields for humanity versus machines? And that's kind of the context and frame I was looking at. But then, talking to Damon, I think I realized that, hey, look, humans are going to still have an advantage because we will learn things and we will grow and we'll continue to change over time. And with the right models and the right approach, there are things that machines can't do that humans will be able to do. And as we said earlier with Rainie, right, those are the things we're going to figure out. What will humans be able to do that machines won't be able to do? And why will humans still have an existence? So there you go with the meta-analysis.
That's awesome. Well, no wonder Rainie called you out as one of the more accurate futurist, and he's the definitive
he's the arbiter.
He's the arbiter. So that was a pretty awesome, proud moment as a co-host, knowing that I am with one of the most accurate futurists in the world. Okay, episode 332 next Friday. We have
331. Oh, okay.
331. Sorry, 331. See, I'm trying to get to the future by 1 week. Episode 331. Mike Yamamoto, Executive Vice President, Chief Customer Engagement and Marketing Officer at F5. And Mike is going to be accompanied by his colleague, Kara Sprague, Executive Vice President and Chief Product Officer at F5. So we've got two incredible leaders shaping F5. We have Mike Fitzsimmons, co-founder and CEO of Cross HQ. And we have David Dodson, author of The Manager's Handbook. I like that. Manager's Handbook. Okay, if it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. Thank you for watching episode 330, and we'll see you next Friday for episode 331. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
And we'll catch Damon in